Welcome to our time of meditation.
Is it possible for the children to?
And, what a good time to center in. I've missed being here as I've been running around and dealing with the funeral of my brother and arrangements with family. So it's been a very, very busy time. And I'm sure you've had a lot of busyness in your life as well. And so this is a time to get centered and really center in to that presence of goodness, that presence of love, that presence of the divine, whatever name you give to this infinite presence of connection and creativity. So I invite you to take in some slow breaths, slow, deep breaths. Allow your eyes to relax, or if you want, you may close your eyes, whatever is comfortable for you. I recommend a comfortable upright position. Envision golden light at the top of the head, washing down, relaxing the muscles of the face and the neck, down into the shoulders, the arms, feel this peace travel down your back, bringing a sense of warmth and peace, traveling down your chest and torso, into your hips, traveling into your thighs, down your legs, into your feet, so that you're fully grounded and supported. So that you are centered in this moment. Just breathe into that, releasing any tension, any distractions, so that we can go deeply into the presence. Feel that presence welling up inside of you. Going into a peace, a oneness, as we go into the silence. envision yourself being that peace that goes out in all the world. We are all connected with one another. We are all this one power, this one presence, expressing as peace, as justice, as equity. We bless this service this morning, Dr. Cindy and the choir and all that happens. We are centered, focused, aware, and awake. And for this, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
It is so good to see all of you this morning. I'm Reverend Tim Lytle. I am the outgoing senior minister.
And I'm Reverend Deanne Morency. I am the incoming senior minister.
There you go. Yeah, it's very seamless, right? Pretty much. Pretty much.
No, it is. It's all held in that field.
Yeah, and we
right?
appreciate you all, helping to keep one another safe. And just know that those of us who are up here on platform, without masks, we tested beforehand. And I want to honor today's flower sponsor of our service. And I like how they said this. We're Maui'd. They got married in Maui. They're Maui'd. So, Linda and James will be our platform assistant today.
And it's his first time, so can we give him some love? Can we support him in this?
And
let's just take a look at the flowers for a moment because they're beautiful.
They're beautiful.
Dorcas Higginbotham did the flower
Dorcas.
arrangement, and her first time as well doing the flower arrangement.
Thank you, Dorcas.
So,
I saw her here.
yeah,
but
she's around.
I don't. And today's hospitality sponsors, you can sign up in the courtyard. And Anne, thank you so much for helping to get the things for hospitality and so forth. We love and appreciate you. Yeah. And Text in Church. If you'd like to get updates as to what's going on, like I sent one out this morning.
And so did I, so you guys got two.
Oh, you sent it out too.
I did.
Awesome. And so if you go to 415-991-7111 and text the word welcome if you're new to us, or text the word loop if you've been with us for a while. We can keep you in the loop as to things that are going on. Would you like to share who we are and what we're about?
Sure. So
Great.
if you're new to Unity, or even if you've been coming for a really long time, it's always important, I believe, to recenter ourselves and remind ourselves why we're here, what we believe. And what we believe in Unity is that each of us is divine, that each of us is the living expression of love and light and joy, and that we come together so that we can reveal that in time and in space. And we have a really amazing program today.
Yes, we do.
Dr. Cindy Acker and our fabulous choir are going to be guiding us. Yeah, let's give them some love, please. On a journey of exploration into Juneteenth and what this commemoration really is all about, like on a really deep level. And it's this kind of transformational work that in Unity we are committed to, that we are committed to being the place where that type of transformation can actually happen so that we truly can make it a world that works for everyone. Because we all know right now that's not really the case, right? Right? And that's not good. That's not good enough, at least for me, right? So the work, our work, in the best possible way that I say work, is that we engage with sometimes incredibly challenging concepts and ideas and realities and allow ourselves to be moved and shifted, because this is where it begins, is right here in ourselves.
Right. Wonderful. So on that note, we are going to have our first song, We Shall Be Known. And so...
And if everybody can stand, so we can all sing it together.
It's a couple of weeks now, and Jeannie's going to add some beautiful harmonies the second time through. And
I didn't know you had sent one out. When did...
We enjoy having you sing right along with us. There it is. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive run deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Let's do it again. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Thank you.
So thank you so much. So I'm going to invite our prayer chaplain to Lucille to bring the prayer box up. And if there are any prayer chaplains or emeriti or anyone who believes in anchoring that consciousness, if you could rise now, and we're going to just encircle this community physically with our presence, and we're going to include those of us who are watching on live stream in our consciousness. And the invitation right now is to just take a breath and to actually allow ourselves to be here now. So whatever it took to get here, we're just letting that fall away. And whatever we think is coming after, we're allowing that also to fall away. And we allow the breath to breathe us as we open our heart, quieting the mind, allowing ourselves to be still. For it is in the stillness that all that we are is available and accessible. So we breathe and we are breathed. I recognize that one power and that one presence that is right here, right now, nearer than our breath. I bless this time together. I bless this opportunity to stand in the openness, in the willingness for transformation, for awakening, for enlightenment. So as we say yes right now to this sacred time, this service where we come together in connection, in community, that we are willing to open our hearts, that we anchor compassion for ourselves, for each other, that we are willing to grow, to allow whatever beliefs we might have to just loosen their grip, so that we are open and receptive to the wisdom that is being made available to us this day. The wisdom that is always being made available to us. But today, right here, right now, we are opening ourselves, recognizing this as a safe space, so that we can shift and grow, and we can allow ourselves to become more of what we truly are, a place, a space of love and light. So we are gentle with ourselves, we are gentle with each other, and we are willing. How grateful I am for this opportunity to grow, to be made new, to be the place, the space where healing happens. In gratitude for this and so much more, I release it all right here, right now, knowing it's done. And so it is. Amen. Ashe.
Good morning, Unity. I'm James Henry. Let's talk about opportunities to grow. I got lots of prayer support this morning, earlier on, and I really appreciate that. Speaking of prayer support, we have chaplains here, of course, to provide prayer support for you. You can go online at unityinmarin.org. You can also call the office at 415-475-5000, extension 0. You can leave a message for Dory, and you can have a chaplain give you a call back. Or feel free to leave a prayer request, and we'll make sure it gets to the prayer chaplains. And it'll be held in prayer for 60 days. See everyone looking up there. I'm wondering if I'm on the same page. All right. And our mission statement, we can all say that together. We are a spiritual community committed to authenticity and expression of love and support for each other in living an awakened and enlightened life. And as a spiritual community, if you can say this with me, we connect with spirit, inspiring each other, the community, and the world. We grow in consciousness through education, healing, and prayer. We spirit, community, and the world with love, joy, and a sense of adventure. Yes, and I'm going to welcome back the choir, led by our wonderful Dr. Cindy Acker. She's wearing several hats today.
It's like, do I put this on yet or do I not? No, I don't.
Beautiful choir. Thank you. Thank you. That helps lift us up into that presence. As we have our inspirational reading today, as we prepare for meditation, our reading is from Maya Angelou. And the title of this is Continue. Can we say that word together? Continue. And each time I raise my hand, we can say together, continue. My wish for you is that you continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness, to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart. In a society dark with cruelty, to let the people hear the grandeur of God in the peals of your laughter. To let your eloquence elevate the people to heights they had only imagined. To remind the people that each is as good as the other, and that no one is beneath nor above you. To remember your own young years and look with favor upon the lost and the least and the lonely. To put the mantle of your protection around the bodies of the young and defenseless. To take the hand of the despised and diseased and walk proudly with them in the high street. Some might see you and be encouraged to do likewise. To plant a public kiss of concern on the cheek of the sick and the aged and the infirm. And count that as a natural action to be expected. To let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer. And let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. To ignore no vision which comes to enlarge your range and increase your spirit. To dare to love deeply and risk everything for the good thing. To float happily in the sea of infinite substance, which set aside riches for you before you had a name. And by doing so, you and your work will be able to continue eternally. Maya Angelou was a Unity student, took SEE classes, was greatly influenced by our teachings. And she was a member at Unity San Francisco. And she knew that those teachings led to continue in action. So I invite you in this time of meditation to take a deep breath. If you wish, relax your gaze or close your eyes. Take in and out a slow, deep breath. And know that right where we are, the one power, the one presence is connecting us all to one another, to all the world. That we are in solidarity with all people, knowing we are all the presence of God in action as we go into the silence. And so it is in this presence that we bless our world, knowing that we light our light as we go forth to transform this world. And we continue. And so it is. Amen. And now we will sing Alleluia.
I'm going to speak from over there. Do I need to do something?
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Am I on? Yes. I am. Okay, good. Pray with me. Help us to hold out when our way gets weary, when there's more that we have to learn, when it's hard to hear it, when we have to know new information and then apply it. Help us to hold out. Help us not to feel guilt, not to feel shame, but just have a little holdout when we need to have it. And may these words resonate deep down into our heart, into our very being. And can it be so? Amen. Oh, I don't think we have the sound connect. If you go back, I can read it. And go on to the next slide, and then if we don't have the sound, I'll read it. I was about 9, 10 years old, maybe more. Stayed right there. We didn't know where to go. Mama and them didn't know where to go. Don't know where to go. That's why we just stayed. Turned us out, just like, like you turn out cattle. I said, I don't know where to go. Thank you, Connect. There are 2 federally recognized Independence Days in the United States. One denotes the independence, the announcement of the Declaration of Independence when the colony separated from Great Britain. If you do your research, you will discover that it actually happened on July 2nd, but it's observed on July 4th. The other one is the oldest African American holiday in existence. And by its very nature, it defies the history of the other just because it is. The commemoration of that holiday, Juneteenth, teaches us one of the most uncomfortably amazing lessons that we could possibly learn in history. It teaches us that consciousness will determine our life experience, and that we must continue to be conscious as a practice in order to improve our life experience and therefore the life experiences of other people. And I believe that it's not something that we have to be afraid of. I believe that we're strong enough to be eyes wide open, to learn about hidden and forgotten history, to see mistakes and to rise up to correct them, and to embark on a history of solidarity, inclusion, and justice. I think that past lessons have shown us the critical need that we have to be conscious, courageous individuals who speak evident truths. And so I will own the fact that I said to Deanne and to Tim that it was critical to give accurate information about Juneteenth. and if it wasn't on that day, on some day, so that the information was shared. And so I'm going to give you a deeper history lesson so that we can be deeply conscious about the commemoration of Juneteenth. And I am someone who doesn't view it as a celebration, but as a commemoration. And I want to help you to understand the background of it so that you will understand what Juneteenth is and is not. So your first history lesson is that slavery did not begin in Africa. It began in Samaria and Mesopotamia as early as 3500 BC. It's not an American creation. A lot of people want to blame America on the initial creation of slavery, but it is not. In fact, it was one of the most incredible partnerships that many countries across the world decided that they were going to join in and enslave people for profit. And so it was even to a point where, although indigenous people were some of the original people who were slaves, indigenous people also enslaved Africans. But eventually, more countries than not joined in one way or another. Either they were enslaved, or as my partner's relatives are, they were boat makers for the slaves. And what's different about slavery in America is that slavery in other countries wasn't based on race. It was really just based on who could you get, who could you use. But in America, it was founded on the concept that we are different from another. And that if we want to look at those differences, that we could use a hierarchy in order to determine which differences were lower on the hierarchical scale, and that anybody who was less than us could be enslaved. And anybody who was far enough down on this scale, they could stay in slavery. The other thing that was important for America is that they discovered how profitable slavery was. Not only could you sell, but if you got slaves who could have babies, then you improved your lot, and therefore what you were worth and the value of your property. And if you took people and brought them from a country where your language was, the language that you spoke in America was not known, then you could hold on to them longer because they wouldn't know how to connect with each other and other people in order to be able to escape. And if you brought them to another land that was not their own, they wouldn't know how to get out either, which was why indigenous people didn't work. They knew the land. And so instead they brought people from another country, eliminated the possibility of them being able to use their language, separated their families, and brought them over and then enslaved them with the hope that they would be able to continue that process and then gain prosperity. And so Juneteenth is a story about that. Thank you, Mark. Because what gave permission to dominate and discriminate was the idea that we are not all made in God's image, that we are not a reflection of God or the God in us, but that we were people or property. To understand Juneteenth, we need to understand what was really lost, because freedom is an easy word to say. But what was lost was the birthright to be. To be. What makes us whole? What is the God in us? All that we call holy became othered. Africans were enslaved. They were brought to the Caribbean and to Santo Domingo before 1619, way before. So 1619 wasn't when slavery actually happened for those in Africa. In fact, the first account of Black indigenous people in America was in the 1500s. And so what you see here is a combination of what some people now call themselves as Black indigenous. So in my family, the tribe was Osage, and so my generations back were both Black from Sierra Leone and Osage from the indigenous tribe. And it's interesting that people never consider people who are Black as being indigenous, but they were actually here too. So war happened, in which the Union that opposed slavery fought against the Confederates, who were proponents of slavery. And the North had 22 million troops. The South had now 9 million troops. 3.5 million of them were slaves who were not so interested in helping the South. And so this man named Benjamin Butler enacted legislation in 1861 which declared slaves to be contrabands of war and then gave the Union the ability to keep them. And Lincoln feared that this was going to alienate those other states, the border states. And so this man, whose name was Allan Pinkerton, explained what the value was of bringing the slaves over to the Union. He said, blacks were contributing to the Union cause in larger ways, not just at Fort Monroe, but also throughout the South. They provided Northerners with valuable intelligence and expert guidance. When Lincoln's master spy, Allan Pinkerton, traveled undercover, he wrote, "My best source of information were the colored men. I mingled freely with them and found them to be ever ready to answer questions and to furnish me with the facts that I needed to possess." And so Lincoln was in an odd kind of spot. And although he didn't have the ability to have freed slaves in the Confederate States, on September 22nd, 1862, he issued the first part of the Emancipation Proclamation, which said that if the Confederate States didn't stop rebelling against the Union, he was going to free the slaves in their area. So legally, he couldn't have done that. They weren't under him, but that is what he said anyway. And people started to get fearful, particularly the Confederates. They said, just as influential, and it's interesting what fear will do, just as influential was what did not happen. The terrible moment was long feared by whites that slaves were going to rise up and slaughter all of the masters. It soon became apparent from the behavior of these slaves that the vast majority of them were not interested in vengeance. They just wanted to be free. They simply wanted to enjoy the same rights and opportunities as other Americans. Millions of white Americans realized that they didn't actually have to fear a bloodbath if the slaves were just set free. That revolution, that revelation, was a revolution in itself, a revolution of peace. So the Confederacy, even though they were afraid, did not yield. And so on January 1st, 1863, Lincoln did what he said he was going to do. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which said that the slaves in any of the Confederate states that rebelled against the Union were free. In reality, it didn't free anybody. Nothing happened. The Emancipation Proclamation went out. It only applied to places under Confederate control. It did not apply to any of the border states, Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, Delaware, but nothing happened except the announcement. So what's Juneteenth about? So Juneteenth recognizes the time from when Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, until the time that the slaves in Texas, Galveston, Texas, were told that it happened. That was a period of 2.5 years. So they were born free, they lost their freedom, they were told that they were going to be free, but it was kept a secret, and so they ultimately didn't continue to be free. And so, is that a celebration? I don't know. Was there somebody who knew? Was there anybody who knew? Well, Lincoln issued that proclamation. All of those people knew. All of the troops who knew that they were going to have to go out and put it into effect, they knew, but they kept it silent. And in fact, people in Texas knew, and many slave owners changed and moved to Texas because they knew it was going to be the last place where people were going to end up being told, and that they could keep their slaves much longer and continue to prosper for a longer period of time. So think about 2.5 years. That's like you're standing on a street corner, ready to cross the street, and all of a sudden, the light is no longer red nor green, but nothing. And someone tells you that you can't move until the traffic light gets fixed. And 2.5 years later, as you stand there, day after day after day, you don't get to cross the street. Or you're given a morsel of bread, and that's all you're given, and you're told that dinner is coming, but it's 2.5 years away. And so each day for 2.5 years, you're going to get that one morsel of bread, but that you will get a meal, but it's 2.5 years later. And so you wait, and you wait, and you wait. Or like what happened to me personally, was that I was told that my father owned property, my grandfather owned property in Kansas. In fact, I said to Tim one day, I want to give him the address so he can just take a picture. And I was very excited that my grandfather actually owned property in Texas, and I got this information from the government, and they said that he apparently paid $50 for it or something like that. However, I learned later when I started to research the information that because of eminent domain, the property was taken over and it's a freeway. And so I said to Tim, I just want a picture of what it was, even though we didn't have it exactly. We kind of had it, but we kind of didn't. And so that's what that kind of wait is like. It's not real. It's when you think you have something, but then you don't. And when you're not even told that you have it, then you're just waiting and wishing. And if you know anything about old spirituals, they live in hope. They live in the hope of something happening. And these enslaved people who, you can change that, Mark? And change it again. Who were a part of the creation of the United States, down to the clay. And that is a picture of clay, bricks, that sat in the library of President Madison and is still on his plantation. But if you look very, very closely, you will see little indentations. And historians discovered that those indentations were the fingerprints of children who were 5, 6, and 7 years old, and that when they were enslaved, that their job was to make the clay bricks that their parents then put into the library. So the contribution that many people of color made to the United States was significant. The White House was completely built by enslaved people. And when you think about that and that a secret got kept for 2.5 years, I consider that totally, totally inappropriate. And so do you see where I'm going with the word celebrate? I don't know. And if that wasn't enough, historians have said a few things. One is that when the Emancipation Proclamation was issued and after enslaved people found out about it, there were still two states that did not give up slavery, Delaware and Kentucky. Slaves didn't get freedom there until December 1865, when Georgia ratified the 13th Amendment, which then allowed all states to have to follow slavery. And then the federal government recognized it as law, and Delaware and Kentucky were forced at that time to free their slaves. And then there's this. Many slave owners deliberately suppressed the information about the Emancipation Proclamation until after the harvest was over. And so General Granger shared the information, but he shared that information with about 1,200 slaves at the time. But there were 250,000 people in Texas, and so many people didn't get it. And Galveston is a port area, and so there were only the people who were there. All of the people who lived far out didn't get the information for a year or more. And then there is the Choctaw and the Chickasaw nations. I mentioned to you that indigenous people also had African slaves, there was an agreement that was still binding with the United States and the Chickasaw and Choctaw nations, and that treaty didn't happen until April 28, 1866, far after the Emancipation Proclamation, and that is when they released their enslaved people. So, when was freedom? It's a hard call. When was freedom? And then there's, what did freedom look like? Anybody have an idea? What would freedom look like? He gives the announcement. What would it look like? Confusion. Confusion, anybody else? Poverty. Well, the Emancipation Proclamation, remember, freed Africans in rebel states after the Civil War. The 13th Amendment emancipated other enslaved people. 1866 emancipated other people under the Indigenous Treaty. But one man said, his name is Houston Hartsfield Holloway, who was freed. He said, "For we colored people didn't know how to be free. And the white people around us didn't know how to have a free colored person around them. So we were all confused." But the majority of them left without any funds. What it tells you that as a part of the Emancipation Proclamation announcement is, yes, you're free. We suggest that you go back to your now employer as opposed to slave owner, and that you work for them quietly for whatever they will pay you. And we expect that you are not going to stand around doing nothing. And that's the rest of the entire Emancipation Proclamation order. But they were left without funds. They had plantation work that they had completed that grew an incredible amount of cotton and other kinds of resources for their slave owners, but they themselves didn't get paid. They themselves didn't have anything. And so when they were turned out, the people who were turned out and who were not threatened that if they left they would get killed, left with nothing. They didn't have food, they didn't have money, they didn't have clothing except what was on their back. And so that's what that looked like. And the very first thing that some missionary organizations started to do, because if you aren't aware of that, enslaved people could not learn to read and write legally. That was against the law. And so missionary organizations started to try to find people who were freed enslaved people and to teach them how to read so that they could start to understand what their rights were and how to be able to move themselves around in this work. And if you can go to the next slide, Mark. This, and I'm doing this out of order, but these are children who are the combination of indigenous people and enslaved Africans. Go ahead, Mark.
Give me a second, I'm going to make sure the volume's...
Good, I was going to say hold that for a minute. So what happened shortly after that was the Reconstruction, which was for a short period of time. There were people who enslaved African Americans at that time who then learned how to read, became active in Congress, became senators, started to assist in passing laws, and that went on for a very short period of time. And if you look up information about the Reconstruction, you will see an amazing number of Black people in office who were a part of the goings-on and the legislative system in the United States. That, however, changed because the same people who were against slavery then started to create Jim Crow laws, which segregated people, took away the right to vote, which took away the right to be able to maintain office. And so they weren't able to do any of the things that they had. So again, that was enslavement of another type. that started to happen. And those Jim Crow laws, interestingly, it affected things like hospitals. A lot of people think that it's just water fountains and bathrooms, but it was everything. My parents never ever discussed that with me, but my mom used to take me to F.W. Woolworth's when it existed in San Francisco, and every single Saturday we sat at the counter. And we sat at the counter, and she would usually order pudding, and that's probably all my mom could afford, but she was determined that we were going to do that every single Saturday. She never told me why, but we did it every single Saturday. And when I became a teenager, I started going there. It wasn't there, it became something else. But I would go every Saturday to have pudding, and I didn't know why I was doing it either. But I thought there was some reason for this that was important to my mother, and then I found out later what that was. It said she wanted to ensure that I had that right. And she didn't want to tell me that I didn't have that right if I had been a part of her generation. She just wanted me to live in it. And so my parents never, ever talked to me about anything that had to do with enslavement or discrimination. Very little that I knew. I knew about civil rights, but I didn't know that those rights were not there. I knew that at our house, every time there was an election, our house served spaghetti to all of the people who came in my neighborhood, all of whom were Black and Latino, to vote. And my mother always encouraged them to vote. But I didn't know the full story for a long, long time. They didn't want that to hinder me from feeling like I couldn't do other kinds of things. And so I missed a lot of that. And in fact, Friday afternoon, I buried with my cousins my Aunt Margie, and my Aunt Margie was the last relative that I had of all of my mom's 10, 11 brothers and sisters. And I had made an agreement with my Aunt Margie that I was going to come down to LA in this summer, and that she was going to just talk to me, and I was going to record her for 2 days because I wanted to hear all of the things that my parents didn't want me to know. And I wanted to hear it from her. And I lost that. And so when I flew down on Friday, I flew down and I just spoke it to my cousins. And I said, I missed the stories. And we said, it's important that we all just get together and that we share anything that we know, because having the stories is a thing that is so critical, because we don't have pictures. I know that there are lots of people who have pictures of their relatives from way, way back. We don't have pictures. We don't have pictures. We don't have property. We don't have those kinds of things. There was just them and a farm that they worked on that somebody else owned. And so we made the decision that we would share the stories, and they asked me, what was the last thing that you remember Aunt Margie saying to you? And I said the last thing that she said was, I love you. And so we decided that that was the thing that she felt was most important, and that maybe in my parents keeping their secret, that love was their motivating factor, that they didn't want me to feel like there was something that I couldn't do. And so Deanne and Tim know me to be someone who always will speak out because I think I can. And I think that was the gift that my parents gave me. Keep holding, connect. So some people might say, but why not celebrate, since it was a nifty thing, why not just go ahead and celebrate it because people got freed? And we've seen slaves dance and sing and dance in church, and you see in Black church that people are always dancing and jumping up and down in the whole 9 yards. And I wanted to walk away having explained that piece to you, because a part of what was very entrenched in my family as a Black family was that it's not that you're celebrating your circumstance, it's that that's all you've got. And that when someone takes away your body, when they hurt your body, when they take away your rights, when they take away your language, when they take away all of the things that make you you, that your spirit is something that they cannot pull. And so you live in your spirit, and that's where the music comes from. That's where the singing comes from. That you have a situation that you may have to get through, and maybe it's just getting through that day or that moment, but you just need to hold on for a little bit. And so we sang, Lord, help me to hold out. Lord, help me to hold out. Lord, help me to hold out. It's, for me, it's the sadness and the hope in the same song, in the same words, in the same expression. There's that scripture, I like the translation that says, hope is the assured expectation of things, the evident demonstration of realities, though not yet beheld. And that, to me, is what is very present in the lives of many enslaved people, that there was a hope that they could see, almost like you could touch it. And so they would sing it and they would dance it, and whatever it was that they could to keep their spirit going so that they would get there. And that's a part of what that is. But you can't have the celebration without understanding the challenge, because otherwise it's just celebration for the sake of celebration. And that's not what Juneteenth should be. It should be a commemoration, and yes, celebrating things that are important, and the fact that people on some level received some measure of freedom, but that we have to make sure that we pay attention to what really matters. Dr. King said, our lives begin and end the day that we become silent about things that matter. And all through history, people were silent and they didn't stand up. And continually, we see that when people are silent and they don't stand up. I just purchased a house and I had to sign this information, and when I got a copy of the information back, under demographics, it said there were boxes, African American, white, et cetera, and at the bottom it said, chose not to disclose. And I called the bank and I said, I didn't choose not to disclose. I checked the box that said African American. And they said, oh, well, don't worry about it. However, where I live is an area, the deed on all houses of people who lived there before says no black people allowed. And so I said to them, you don't understand, it's critical to me that box gets checked. That's the box I checked. And you need to acknowledge who I am. And so being silent about those things is just never enough. It was the tool to carry out some of the most atrocious deeds of humankind, and it's still the tool. It's still the tool that allows things like racism and discriminatory actions to continue. So when we follow a lesson of silence and we stand by day, after hundreds of years while others are oppressed, if we learn anything about Juneteenth, it's that we all have to lift up courage, that we have to be silent no more, that being silent allows people to be oppressed, that being silent allows people to be discriminated against and treated unjustly. So I want you to see, do you have the sound? Connect saying, oh, I hope so.
To educate the formerly enslaved who didn't know how to read or write or count.
The land where Prairie View sits was once home to Alta Vista Plantation, spread over 3,000 acres with 300 to 400 slaves. And recently, something quite rare happened. The descendants of the plantation owners reached out to the university, wanting to collaborate with students and staff in the push for social and racial equality. Becky Vanderslice and her daughters, Allison and Mara, are descendants of Jared Kirby, who was the master of the plantation from 1849 to 1865. Why do you decide to openly talk about this very uncomfortable part of your family history?
I felt it was really important to stand up and declare this really did happen and my family was part of it, and to acknowledge that.
When she was about 9 years old, Becky remembers her grandmother in Houston showing her a probate document listing the names of slaves at Alta Vista Plantation, along with their ages. The document verifying a difficult truth for the family.
It's made me very angry. It's made me very sad. I think it's also made me more empathetic.
Becky, the family matriarch, says members of her church in Colorado encouraged her to reach out to the university. I heard you say in an interview you were afraid to contact the university. Why?
I did not know how I'd be received. I didn't know who to speak to.
She ended up talking to the right person. Phyllis Earls is the university library archivist. She vividly remembers that first conversation.
Then she started talking about the Kirby family. And then she said, I'm one of the descendants. And I remember her saying that, I want to talk to you, but I wasn't sure how I'll be received. I said, I've been waiting for someone from the Kirby family to call.
Oh, 8,000 acres.
8,000 acres
Of land.
300 slaves.
Yeah.
The three women finally visited the Prairie View campus in May. A family with a complicated past now joining the conversation about bringing people together.
I think so important that we come forward to talk about what really happened. And I think to be a model for other white families that could partner with historic Black colleges and universities and others to tell the fullness of this story. And frankly, we're seeing a movement in our country with laws passed in legislatures across the country trying to have us stop having these conversations, to make it harder for people to have these conversations. I think we should be doing more of it, and especially when it's uncomfortable. I think it helps you grow and stretch, and I hope it can mean that we can be better partners and community members with all of them.
So they chose not to be silent. And now there are students on the land that was their plantation. And this family is fighting to ensure that there are more people of color who have the opportunity to be able to attend AMI University. But they moved through the uncomfortability to do something that they felt was right. And that's the lesson of Juneteenth. It's the reminder never to be silent. It's the courage of the people who went through years and years and years of oppression. And I'm grateful for the people who were abolitionists, who fought against slavery. I'm grateful for the people who were eventually freed. But I believe that we can't stop saying something. And that's not about being shamed or being guilty. I said on our very last Getting Real with Race, be kind to past versions of yourself that didn't know the things you know now. And so Juneteenth is the reminder that when we're silent, we become partners in the restriction of freedom, the perpetual acts of racism and injustice and the loss of life. To sit silently by is to be complicit. And so I want you to walk away reminding yourself, and I want you to say this one with me, whatever makes you uncomfortable is your biggest opportunity for growth. And then I want you to repeat after me, be kind to past versions of yourself. Be kind to past versions of yourself. That didn't know the things you know now. That didn't know the things you know now. And now you know. And now the work begins. Thank you. Glory is not the easiest song to sing, but what I wanted it to pull up was the feeling of the things that we just learned about.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, it will be here, we will be sure. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. Glory. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Glory.
Now the war is not over. Victory isn't won, but we'll fight on to the finish. And then when it's all done, it will be ours. It will be ours. Glory. 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 Glory, 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 glory. This is not a problem for one group or one party. Each person must strive to end what was started. MLK had a dream of a table where we'd all sit. In moving towards this dream, we cannot quit. Each man and woman deserves their justice. You can't believe that it's just us who's being persecuted. Everybody's got a story. I know one day everybody's gonna see the glory. The glory is us united as one. Neither hate, ignorance, judgment, or guns can win this war against division and discrimination. Can't you see the greatness that's in all of us? Especially when you give love, honor, and trust. So let's stop this abomination and start loving as one, giving as one, caring as one, feeling as one, growing as one. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking living as one.
Thank you, Unity and Marin Choir. And Benny. And Dr. Cindy. Thank you, thank you. A few things have come together today. I guess a month ago we had Father's Day and Juneteenth on the same day. And usually on Father's Day, my kids are present with me. And this past Father's Day, they weren't here. However, today my daughter and her fiance are here. And the reminder of Juneteenth and your message, Cindy, I had to go back and take a look at my daughter's arm. And my daughter has a tattoo on her arm. And it says, "Your silence will not protect you." Thank you for being here, and I know this is a busy time for my daughter. She'll be sitting for the bar exam on Tuesday and Wednesday. And she'll be working to help incarcerated seniors, elderly, that have been held well beyond their time. And what an example you set for us. And happy anniversary, Linda. This is a wonderful community here. I met Linda here about 17 years ago. No, probably longer than that. And this community has given me so much, and I'm just really grateful. All right. But that's why I give. That's why I give. All right. And various ways that you can give too. You can go online, unityinmarin.org/donate. You can also, me. You can text 84321. You can also phone in 415-475-5000, extension 102. And you can also do the old-fashioned snail mail, 600 Palm Drive, Novato, and blah, blah, blah. And we also have the opportunity to do it right here in person. So if the ushers will come forward.
Please sing with me. Just as we give, so we receive. Richly we live in one golden weave. There is nothing that we can lack. We give from love. Love gives it back. Just as we give, so we receive. Richly we live in one golden weave. There is nothing that we can lack. We give from love. Love gives it back.
Carolyn reminded me, don't sing in the mic. And had to zip it. I know I've been asked to, try out the choir. I was like, no, you don't want that. We welcome newcomers. We have a special gift for you on the side. When we exit the sanctuary, we're going to go out the side entrance here, and there's a nice gift. Do we have it? Raise your hand if you are new to Unity. Any first-timers today? No? Okay. And hello online. Do we send mugs to? We can? All right. Just send in your donation, you'll get one. All right. We have Reverend Deanne's installation on Wednesday evening at 7. Yay. And there will be a reception to follow afterwards. And then next Sunday will be Reverend Tim's last service here as senior minister. Yes, please.
I'm really looking forward to being with all of you next Sunday. It'll be my last official Sunday here. It'll be an aloha service. It will be lots of good energy, and I'll be speaking on the topic of wake up, clean up, grow up, show up. And so this is a message I've been waiting to give for a while. And it's my last chance here, at least for a while. So I really would like to be with you all. And just so you know, I am doing the 1 o'clock Zoom connection today. So those of you who want to connect with me on Zoom, I hope that is on our website. I'm looking at Deanne. It hasn't been taken down. So I'd love to connect with any of you online, or others of you will connect at 1 o'clock today. So please join us next Sunday. Thank you.
I get to wear some Hawaiian dress.
I would love that.
Not a Hawaiian dress, but...
James, be yourself, man.
All right, then we have, let's see, starting August 6th, the Quantum Living course will be offered again. Linda and I took that a few months ago, and it's a awesome opportunity to get in touch with your feelings. Men out there, all right? I know I was kind of not alone, but there were very few men in that group. And when we were on the virtual call, I was one of the ones that was asked to share and get in the hot seat with Reverend Deanne. And that was a triggering moment for me. And so I've had to kind of work through that. I'm still working through it. But men out there, is Art out here still? All right, I'd like to see Art and several others join this. It's a great process. All right, so biodanza, so movement, dance, all ages. And I believe it's the first Sunday of each month. All right, so following the service, it's a $20 suggested love offering, but of course no one is turned away. And we have the Wednesday Courtyard series with Ian Dogle and Renee Jenkins, August 10th at 7 p.m. And then drumming circles drumming circles is great. I know Steve Listug led that for quite a while. We would be here New Year's Eve and just rock in the sanctuary. So if you haven't done that, join that. And then save the date, August 14th, immediately following the service, there'll be a town hall meeting, give you a little update on the transition process here and Q&A. And on Monday morning, you should be receiving an email with a little bit more detail on the updates. Christine, Christine is in the back. Yay, Christine. Visit the bookstore. It's right next to the office, and it's beautiful. And it's great to have you back. Yay. And when you go out the side door, there'll be a great opportunity to pick up your mug if you're new and hang a left for the bookstore or straight ahead for the hospitality snacks. Think again.
And hi, everybody. So the response to my bringing this book to the community's attention was so overwhelmingly, everybody kept saying to me, I have to read that book. I have to read that book. I have to read that book. And I thought, okay, Deanne, you need to think again, because I had said this wasn't going to be the book study. I thought again, it is going to be the book study. Christine has ordered the books, so they should be in the bookstore hopefully by next Sunday if you want to pick it up. The book study is a small group book study that's facilitated by the community. So if you're interested in being a facilitator, let me know. It's going to run from the week of September 11th through October 31st. Okay, and if you have any questions, we'll have sign-up sheets and all of that eventually. But just know, we're going to do this book together. It's really, really, really wonderful. All right, how not to be silent. There's so much in here about how not to be silent and how to find your voice in a way that really can make an impact, not continue the polarization. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, the book studies are a great way to connect in the community. I remember my first connection here at Unity many years ago was in a book study group, and the rule during that book study was you don't do the same group over again, right? So you change groups and meet new people. Well, our group, we loved each other so much. We started another book on our own, and we continued through, but I look forward to that. QR code. Use your phone. It's on your program, and that's a great way to look at the events that are coming up and to register. And if I can have the Unity and Marin prayer chaplains. It's coming. All right. Thank you, prayer chaplains, for your support. Those of you, if you see our members here wearing the white stole, grab them after service, and they'll sit with you. And I see Gus in the back there. Hey, Gus. All right. They provide a wonderful, wonderful service here, and connect either right after service or call them. I look forward to my monthly calls that I get. So thank you for your service. And now it's time to welcome our youth. Yay!
Is the mic on? We did affirmations today, and Jane wanted to share her affirmation.
I make friends easily.
Marlon's was, I have a place of stillness within me. And Elliot's was, I learn and discover new things every day. Did you want to share what you learned today?
That everything is made of God. I don't know.
Thank you. Now, if the congregation can stand as you are able. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. Love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God washes over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. Amen.
Last week, we introduced a blessing of the children. So we're going to do that right now, and then the choir will come up, and we're going to close with a special song today that the choir has prepared for us. So I want to invite all of us to hold this blessing for ourselves, for the child that we all are. I am continually, if I had heard this growing up, could you imagine, right? Who we would all have been in this world if this had been what we had heard. And to just invite us to hold this for the children of the world, right? For every child, as well as for these beautiful, unique, magnificent children who are here with us right now. So I will say it first, and then I'll invite you to say it after me. You are the perfect expression of divine light, and we love you just the way you are. Can we know this together, please? You are the perfect expression of divine light, and we love you just the way you are. And so it is. So please stay standing for our final song. You'll be able to join in.
So this is a song that I used to sing as a concluding song, but it's the combination of two songs that the choir will sing that have to do with freedom, and both of them are freedom protest songs. They sound like they're hopeful songs, but they are not. They are claiming the freedom that everyone should have. So we're going to sing the first part, and then the choir is going to divide on this side and that side, and we're going to get you to sing along with us.
Oh, freedom.
It's going to start over here, and then it's going to sing over there, and we want you to each out-sing the other side. Okay? And it's called Freedom is Coming. It's a South African freedom protest song.